Next up, we're going to have one of my very dearest friends, Alex Johnson, PoeticSoul, from Lafayette, Louisiana. PoeticSoul is a spoken word artist who's performed for venues such as 100,000 Posts for Change, Inglewood, you guys heard in Chicago, and Cafe Nuyorican. She'll be a featured artist at this year's Festival Awards in Louisiana, and is the founder and host of Lyrically Inclined Poetry Slam and Open Mic, a wonderful monthly event in Lafayette. She works with educational nonprofits like Volunteers for America and Project Sound, speaking to rural classrooms about the power of literacy and creative writing. Alex?
My first poem that I'm going to perform, it's called She Is I. I wrote this a while ago, but it's been kind of coming to me again in my thoughts, because I'm realizing that a lot of what I wrote is happening to me now. You guys ever have that happen where you write something and you see it happening in your life and it's like, whoa, maybe I should be careful what I say? Yeah, and I tend to walk around a lot, so if I'm with this with guys, just kind of stay with me. She's lost herself in the inconsistencies of her own mind, misinterpreting fabrications for reality, abusing her blessings, no longer humbled by her journey to true elevation, losing sight of how she'd come to fly, soaring through the solar, dancing amongst the stars, confusing dragons for angels, demons for lovers, not realizing that the world is a painting not predefined by only black and white. There are shades of gray and blues and greens, and change is forever constant. And life exists with or without her, or you, or me, or us. And our existence precedes our understanding. For our purpose is as plain as the sun above, meaning that we are forever changing. But here at each moment for a specific reason. To penetrate the dark that envelops the physical and metaphysical, but her ignorance knows no bounds. Limitless. Infinite like the heavens above, that same expanse that keeps her stationed amongst the ignorant. Attached to pleasures of the flesh. Tainting the purity of love. Relinquishing all respect for human emotion. Defining her existence as that of a common miscreant. Accepting her gifts sent from God, but portraying them in likeness of the fallacies of our mother. Basking in obscurity. Believing that she is the definition of beauty, proud and strong. Tangled in her own web of deception. Blinded by her own greed, covetous, desiring to have everything not meant for her. Claiming the entitlement of a queen, but making false promises to her people. Denying all knowledge of fashion dreams that once crept from her lips. And this false queen bears one name, for we commonly speak of her in reference to self. She is I, but by our own vanity we cast her out of sight, for her appearance is less than acceptable in the eyes of perfect men. Blind to the similarities between she and we, imperfections in a whole, stretching from limb to limb. The coexistence of positive and negative can only go so far. True realization and definition of self must come from the eternal within and be named as such. For we all relate to this false queen, and should openly learn from her example of preservation of self and ask ourselves, what is the difference between the queen and I? Amazingly, I have allowed myself to be trapped in a state of malcontent. Open arms allow shadows to cradle my descent, deeper into yesterday, forming the reflection of tomorrow. Populated by generations accustomed to repetition, as usual, history repeats itself and we allow its words to pollute our intuition. As if humanity had not been blessed with free will. Writing on the back of ignorance, practiced at being still, practiced at being still, practiced at being silent and passive. And as the world turns around us, we pay attention to nothing, idealizing objects, not realizing its definition, idealized. To represent or think of as better than reality would warrant. Closing our mind's eye, our thoughts lay dormant, motionless like the idols we hold in adoration, standing in 16-hour lines just to purchase, then praise, then praise. Standing in 16-hour lines just to purchase, then play. Pay attention. These man-made creations have become our gods. Celebrating celebrities instead of the Most High, giving all reason to warrant our destruction. As we step in tune with polyphonic ringers, flashy lights and bright colors guide our eyes and our fingers. God. Governmental, ordnance department. We are practiced at being still. We fall in line for every golden calf shown on television. We are practiced at being still. We allow fads and spokesmen to direct our decisions. We are practiced at being still, practiced at being still, practiced at being silent, passive. We have become a generation accustomed to repetition. You know, I'm 28, still kind of young, you know, so that part of my life wasn't very far away. I'm realizing now when I look back at my teens how much life impacted me. You know, we go through those developing stages and the smallest things can set off this big emotional burst inside of you. You know, depression, anxiety, you know, there are different, you know, we mistake them in children for ADD, ADHD, something that Ritalin can make stop, you know, when in actuality we all just learn differently. You know, I'm more of a hands-on learner as opposed to someone that's auditory, you know. And so I went through a lot of stuff growing up, and I wrote this piece to get some frustration out. I feel it's important that we become self-aware and deal with our past, because it's important to deal with that. You can't move forward until you let this stuff go. I'm sorry, Mama, but look what I've done. I don't think I'll be able to see the rising sun. I'm sorry, Father, but look what I've done. Where were you when I found the trigger to this gun? I'm sorry, Mama, I stood behind you and carved pictures into my skin. I was a new age Da Vinci. Depression commissioned my art, and my body became its gallery to host for your attention. And now you have the nerve to blame my actions on rap music in Marilyn Manson when I'm a product of my environment. It took you years to notice a change. All the while I used long sleeves and white lies to cover up my shame, and you sold tickets to the public to entertain your ideas of me. Entitling your exhibition The Art of Good Parenting, when in reality it should have been entitled A Distant Lover. Now in all your fabrications can you find me, Mother? Now that it matters, will you truly take the time out to know your daughter? I'm sorry, Mama, but look what I've done. I don't think I'll be able to see the rising sun. I'm sorry, Father, but look what I've done. Where were you when I found the trigger to this gun? I'm sorry, Father, I searched for you, thinking that you'd be proud that I carried your name, but I never found you. But I found something similar, yet not quite the same, but reminiscent of you, cocked back and violent, quick to take aim. And this must be the definition of a man. So I'm proud that I carry your name. And just like you found my mama, I found my new target. Little dude looked at me stupid, now he's got to pay for it. And just like you showed me, Daddy, I got it aimed cocked straight for his dome. I want to make you proud, Father. Now will you come home? I'm sorry, Mama, but look what I've done. I don't think I'll be able to see the rising sun. I'm sorry, Father, but look what I've done. Where were you when I found the trigger to this gun? At what point will we stop making children responsible for things that are in fact adult responsibilities? Which means helping them and guiding them to understand what they feel and why they feel that way, or why they could feel that way, and how to deal with it. Because suicide is real. It's a very real thing. It's a sensitive subject, but I think that we shouldn't turn our backs to sensitive things. I think the sensitive things break. I think they need more care. A few years ago, maybe it's been about 3 years, Jonathan, since Dylan?
Yeah.
It's been about 3 years. It was one of my students, I teach creative writing and performance in the school systems. And when I'm in the school system, I come in as a teaching artist. This project sound like Jonathan spoke of earlier. And we work with students in the classroom on, you know, great writing performance, like I said, but I try to do things a little bit different. I'm not really traditional. You know, I appreciate figurative language and all of these things, I do, but when I go into the classroom, my purpose is to reach the students that need the extra assistance. And whether it be through, you know, they may be ADD, we confuse, you know, children that are active and highly intelligent and need to do things hands-on or get bored fast for children that are acting out because they're not disciplined well or they're bad. When in all actuality, most children with ADD, I think, just learn differently, or they learn quicker than others. They're behind, everyone else is kind of behind them in learning, I think. So my student, he was a very talented young man, very different. Dylan was a magician, an excellent, excellent magician. And he was just a great character. He was 17 and committed suicide. He just graduated. And we were supposed to perform at Festival International together, and I would love to have shared a stage with him. You know, I would love to have shared a stage with him. I was excited. And then it came time for festival, and we couldn't find him. You know, 3 days, and they found him, and he shot himself in the head. And I've written this piece before that happened, but I dedicate this piece to him because I think that maybe we could have, not we, but it could have been handled differently, whatever he was going through. You know, something could have been different. You know, it wasn't that he was destined to commit suicide. You know, something in his life could have been handled differently. It just, they didn't know how to handle it. You know, that's not what God wanted. But I dedicate this piece to him. It's called Insecurities. There's no feeling in the world that compares to the feeling of being alone. Confined to your own thoughts as their screams precede articulation. Resonating pain to accent your flaws. Drowning out your voice, securing those bars that hold you close. They remind you of every moment you dread. They remind you of, well, you know, the bus stop, the lunch line, classroom, home, the mirror. More than anything, the mirror. And I know people say that every day is a new day, but when I wake up, some things just won't go away. So I stopped looking. I thought that if I didn't see me, then they wouldn't see me and all the pain would drift away, but it didn't. Nah. It didn't, and I know because people always tell me that God doesn't make mistakes, but that doesn't explain why I can't look at me. Why every time I walk out my front door, you remind me that I'm ugly. And why every time I stand, you remind me that I'm shaped funny. And why every time I raise my hands, you ignore me. And every time I open my mouth to speak, you remind me that stupid is all I will be. And why every time I look up at me, there is nothing there. Nothing, nothing but these translucent tears, weighted by my imperfections, hailing to cover up my footprints. I am nothing. And I've been nothing for so long that I've not learned my own voice. I am nothing. But when? When will you stop judging? When will you stop criticizing? When will you stop yelling and just stop and love me? I gave you feet. Just like he threw me back in, you have to learn to overcome defeat. See, we can twerk and nay-nay, but we can't stand on solid ground. Quick to rock the boat, but can't calm the waters down. People are swearing they're so uplifted. Practiced at staying high, but still on their knees praying to see the light during the darkest of times. People, maybe we'd be able to see if we took the shades from our eyes now. Let's turn the page to the next chapter in our lives. God doesn't abandon, he tries to teach us to fly. He gave us the ability to see, so wipe the tears from your eyes. See, nothing in this life but birth is free. So stand up, live, and overcome adversity. My mother is a nurse. She worked in Houston and UTMB in Galveston for a few years. So she's seen all of, they see all of the patients in Texas and the prisons. All the prisoners in Texas, they come to UTMB for treatment. So they have a lot of crazy things that happen. This one guy came in, she told me. He came in, he made it through, there's an underground area where you can park, and you have to take the elevator up to get to triage, to the emergency room. So he made it from the bottom underground parking lot up 3 floors with a shotgun in his hands, walked up to triage, passed the security desk and walked up to triage. Security wasn't there. People are not paying attention, not even the employees. That he was able to come up from the ground floor, up to the 3rd floor and walk across the hospital with a shotgun in his hands. Apparently he needed some help. He wanted to kill himself, but neither here nor there. Security was late. They were eating, getting donuts, whatever. They caught him at triage. People don't pay attention. A lot of people stay right here. But things are happening. Another situation, this is I guess my view of the thought process of people. I think we're, again, misguided. This man came into the hospital, walked up to triage. I got shot in the head 3 days ago, scratching at the, what is supposed to be a bullet hole. There's no blood. I got shot in the head 3 days ago. I need help, whatever. He tells that to my mother and the other nurse. The other nurse panics. She runs up to him, is looking in his scalp, where's the blood, where's the bullet hole? My mother is standing there. Well, obviously he has some issues. And she started asking him questions, to see where his head is, if you're current, what's the date, what year it is, who's the president of the United States. And when she asked him that question, he responded, Bill Clinton in me, 3 men down. What does that mean? Bill Clinton in me, 3 men down. To who's the president of the United States of America? And what would you think if someone told you that? Well, obviously there's something wrong. The entire time my mother said that the other nurse was looking for the bullet hole. She couldn't figure out what was going on. Now, he obviously has an issue, maybe multiple personalities, schizophrenic. She's a registered nurse. Who is the crazy person at this point? You're trained with a degree to look for these situations to understand and help heal, but you're looking for a bullet hole that you know does not exist because everything you were taught, all common sense, is out the window. So who's really the person with issues, the person that's not paying attention? Is it the schizophrenic? Or is it the nurse that is treating patients, other patients at the hospital? People don't pay attention. So I'm working, I want to finish this piece, I want to add to it, but so far, this is where we are. We breed slave mentalities. Bound by the limits of our cultural capacity, we've been broken down into systematic subsets, a virtual conglomerate followed by codes and sequences. We've left our natural land to burn, replaced cowbells and roosters with tweets. We've reprogrammed our destinies, falling from our heritage as we upload our souls into a cloud that looms over our freedom, the scent of oppression fragrant in the air. Binary chains, linked, looped around our wrist, vining through our thoughts. They highlight our imperfections so that we become familiar with being broken. And I think that it's important that we start paying attention to our surroundings. We've become too disconnected, too detached from our families. We've become too detached from the world. Everything is too far gone, because if we're not paying attention to our surroundings, not paying attention and picking our heads up, you know, to be the best that we can be, then we'll have nurses that look for bullet holes that don't exist.